Hello and welcome into our special feature Countdown to Opening Day as we get you set for the Bisons' 2022 season opener against the Iowa Cubs on April the 5th. I'm the voice of the Bisons, Pat Malacaro. Over the next couple of weeks, we're going to bring you several features including players, front office staff, and we figured what better way to open up our series leading to opening day than talk about the prospects in the Blue Jays organization. And we head to Dunedin, Florida to do that today. And a familiar friend for those of you joining us, Ben Wagner, joins us from the Player Development Complex in the Blue Jays campus down in Dunedin, Florida to chat with us about the Blue Jays prospects here in 2022. Ben, looks like a beautiful setup you have there at the Player Development Complex. Thanks for joining us today, and how's the offseason been treating you?
Well, Pat, I can guarantee this. My weather here is unlike Buffalo, which is the nice backdrop for Blue Jays baseball to get started. And Blue Jays baseball gets started means, as we sit here today, with a lot of question marks around the major league club, but minor league camp, as you know, is full throttle, and that's exciting. And my off season has been pretty busy because this complex has been open in my backyard here in Dunedin, Florida, and that's by design. This is a couple of years in the making, but finally the Blue Jays are able to execute the grand plan, and that is to make their minor leaguers better, no matter if they're just starting off in the GCL, going to Vancouver, going to wherever their stop is projected to be, and hopefully eventually it'll be the major leagues.
And as you talk about that, I think about guys like Casey Lawrence, who you have seen down in Dunedin, who might be a little bit of back to the future for you and Casey to see each other again in Dunedin. But Casey really talked about having somebody like David Howell last year, who was out in the bullpen a lot of times, but during the day working with pitchers and really analyzing how they threw the ball, all the different measures and matrices that you can judge a pitcher by, and how it made him a better pitcher. And we've seen guys go away from necessarily the sinking fastball to the cutter now, and how that has really allowed pitchers some new life on their pitches and extend their careers a little bit. So I'd imagine guys like Casey are taking advantage of the pitching lab down there in Dunedin.
I mean, absolutely. And then trying to replicate it when they step on the 10-pack and throw their side sessions and then go to live batting practices. And we're still a little bit of ways from minor league games actually unfolding here in Dunedin. That's coming up in a couple of weeks, but that'll be the next test, right? It's great to see this stuff in a closed environment. But as we have learned, once the lights get a little bit brighter and it's this phase, right? You try to do it in the pitching lab, you try to take it to your side session, then you go to live BP. Now, can you implement it in the games? That's the true test. If you can replicate all those things as the heart rate races. And they're trying to do that with the younger guys. If it's a Graham Spraker, for example, who has a lot of promise, if he can stay in the organization and be left as a Blue Jay, or Ricky Tiedemann, who's the big splash in the talk of town right now with his added velocity. But those guys that you mentioned, like a Casey Lawrence or a Matt Gage, those are important insurance policies. And for Casey Lawrence to develop a new pitch and get it to translate then to be effective when he's out there on the mound, or Matt Gage, if they can plant the seed right now with the strides that they're taking and working with David Howell or Jeff Ware, or, the luxury right now is they're getting an opportunity to pitch in front of Pete Walker. And in normal cases, once Major League Camp starts, Pete and Matt Bushman and also David Howell now, their time, their resources are invested on making the guys that pitch in the Major League games or ready for Major League, the season itself, to get ready. That's their focus. But right now, they can channel their resources, they can take their time and look at these other guys, whether it's just a small sample size or a longer look. That's really important because, as we know, coaches, players, people in the organization will remember these little moments when there's a need at the major league level, whether it's April or July, let's say. And that's really important, especially for guys like Casey.
And talking about Gil Kim and his elevation to, full-time on the major league coaching staff where he's been the last couple of years, that allows for opportunities for others in the organization, like Joe Scalfani, to take over now and really have a bigger hand in developing minor league players. How has that transition, do you feel, gone this offseason? And have you had a chance to maybe talk to Joe or anybody else and get some of their philosophies on how they want the minors to continue to grow?
Joe is interesting because he's been in the organization for a little while, and actually he's had more of an operational hand in what every minor league affiliate has had in front of them, one, but also how the Blue Jays operate their minor league system overall. And even though it wasn't there in title, Joe has been doing this behind the scenes. And it's the philosophy was you can still get better at the major league level over the last couple of years. As wild as baseball and life, let's be honest, has been over the last couple of years, the Blue Jays still made a very big and important point on no matter where you are, no matter what level or what your pedigree is, you can still get better. Now, while Gil was with the big league club, traveling with the big league club, invested in the major league club, he still was involved on the periphery. Joe Scalfani was doing that hands-on, and he was visiting the affiliates. And wonderful thing about Joe is his energy. You know, you can spend 30 seconds with Joe, and you can feel his energy in his presence, in his voice, in what he's saying. So, you know, you step onto the field, you're going to get that. You get a text from Joe, you're going to get that.
And for folks that may not know, Joe Scalfani is not that far removed from being a player himself. So it's not as if he, hasn't been in the player's shoes before. He understands the situation players may be in to the highest levels of the minor leagues. And I think there's a value in that, like we saw with Gil Kim in the past and other minor league, whether it be field coordinators or minor league coaches that more recently were players themselves.
These guys understand. It's not like they've been dropped into a position where they're too far removed from the game. They understand not only what it's like to go through as a player, but now taking advantage of the modern conveniences. And I really get a sense, while the Blue Jays have invested so much into the sports science of things, whether it's health and nutrition, whether it's the analytical side, there's been a leveling off with the coaches in the organization, and then that trickles down to the players of a better balance. Yeah, all these things are great, but at the end of the day, when the lights were on, did you win or lose? Did you maximize the potential in an individual at bat, or did you handle the ground ball to get better in that play? And I think the people in the front office and around the evaluators now have a greater appreciation of taking all the resources and all the prep work and the reams of paper that come off every report, not only the emphasis to provide it to a player, but does it translate and does it make that player better? And can a team succeed because of it?
And there's no better example, I don't think, than the Bisons last season when you have somebody like Casey Candell as the manager who played here in Buffalo in the late 90s, won a championship with the team or helped lead the team to a championship, and has had a very successful coaching career. You marry that with someone like Jeff Ware, who was going to be the pitching coach in 2020, Corey Hart, who's been here before, and then you add David Howell, Jake McGuigan, who are the new school, if you will, types who are analytical and can marry those two thoughts and bring the team together. It culminated in a division championship.
I like that balance too, and I've spent some time with Jake. Casey's down here, and just as jovial as he's ever been as well. So you're going to get a consistent coaching staff. And this is what I was talking about earlier. There's a balance between having all the data and information available for these players, but also then making it translate so a player can soak it in, but also get results out of it. And, that's the beautiful thing in getting to know Jake over the last couple of months too. There's that nice balance between his pedigree as a guy that could jump into any front office right now and lead, or be on the field and lead as well. And so it's a really nice balance, and Casey's got a great grasp of it and understands what the success is as a player, as a coach, but also what it's like to have success in Buffalo too, and that's what makes this season exciting. Bison fans can finally get to hopefully enjoy wire to wire what was starting in Trenton, finally got to Western New York last year. And even though things, had to be adjusted, hopefully that trophy is kind of being carted around Salem Field later on in the fall.
The 8 gloves behind the pitching staff is something I wanted to check in with you about as well, as it's so important to the development of the organization. Guys like Cullen Large, Logan Warmoth, who got their first taste of AAA life last year. Have you had a chance to talk to any of the prospects that were here in Buffalo last year and how they felt they went through a AAA season and what they're maybe looking forward to here in 2022?
What they're looking forward to is full season of baseball, and getting better. Honestly, I think more than anything, the theme around this camp is normalcy, where you're not just dictated by a pod. And, We know contact tracing. We know all the buzzwords from the COVID years. This feels like baseball. This feels like guys in conversation without masks in the middle of the field, out shagging with pitchers and coaches and other position players that aren't there. So to answer the question about Colin Large, I've talked with him, Logan Warmoth. Is he going to play short? Are they going to move to third base? He's going to get more reps at third base and find himself there, knowing Orelvis Martinez maybe behind him in overall projection rankings. But how are you going to round this thing out? Now for Logan Warmoth and Colin Large and whoever, maybe the 6-year free agent is, how are you going to place these guys in the infield and the outfield that's going to best suit not only them, but then the major league team? I expect Logan Warmoth, for example, to play a lot of shortstop, but at the end of the day, does he project as a third baseman? From a baseball perspective and what I want to see how he plays third, even though maybe his value is to showcase him in front of scouts or keep him in front of people continuously getting reps at shortstop. But I'm not sure he's the answer at shortstop. He might be for another organization, and that's what makes his name linked to a couple of Blue Jay trade rumors and all this other stuff really exciting, right? There's so much that could happen in a very short amount of time for the Toronto Blue Jays. And not only will it help or impact how the major league roster lines up, but it's going to have an impact on how the Bisons roll out their opening day lineup and where guys play as well.
Ben, it's been great catching up with you today. Your backdrop of the player development complex looks amazing. I'm very jealous that I won't be able to make it down to Dunedin this year, but thanks for taking the time today.
My pleasure, pal.
To listen to my full conversation with Ben, head over to bisons.com or Apple Podcasts and search Power Alley Podcast, where you can hear all of our chats throughout the course of this past year. Look forward to chatting with you again next week, where we bring you more Countdown to Opening Day.